At 10 p.m, 19th of December 2022, Stephen McCulloch phoned 999 in her home in Lurgan, County Armagh. McNally was 15 weeks pregnant with his child. The estimated time of death was between 8:50 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. on Sunday, the 18th of December 2022. This is the case of the murder of Natalie McNally. Natalie was 32 and from Lurgan in County Armagh. She was a much-loved daughter, sister and friend. She was warm, thoughtful, socially engaged and deeply loved by her family. Her parents were both still alive and she had 2 brothers. She was expecting her first child, who was a boy. Her family often spoke about how excited she was for motherhood, someone who cared deeply about others and had a strong sense of justice. On the evening of 19th of December 2022, Northern Irish police were called to Silverwood Green in Lurgan at 10 p.m, where they discovered the body of Natalie McNally. In addition to multiple stab wounds, she was severely beaten and had facial fractures and broken bones in her neck. Detectives found no evidence of forced entry at the property. That suggested that she knew her killer and had allowed them into her house. She had a 32-year-old ex-boyfriend who was originally arrested but was released after being ruled out. Detectives established that that day she had watched the 2022 FIFA World Cup final with her parents in Craigavon, and she returned home sometime after 5 p.m. Local CCTV recordings and police released footage of a person seen acting suspiciously. This footage showed a man carrying a rucksack. He entered Silverwood Green at 8:52 p.m. on the 18th of December 2022 and was seen leaving again at 9:30 p.m. 31st of January 2023, they announced that they had re-arrested a man in connection with the inquiries. 2nd of February 2023, Stephen McCulloch, who was 36, was charged and he was from Lisbon. The original alibi was that he was live streaming at the time of the crime, Grand Theft Auto Vice City on YouTube. At the time of the broadcast and on the video footage that the police accessed of the live stream, McCulloch stated that he could not engage in the live due to technical issues. So the police did some investigations, some forensic investigations, and found out that that video had not been live at all, and that they established that it had been pre-recorded. And when McCulloch presented with this evidence, he admitted the video had been recorded around 14th of December 2022. And he also declined to cooperate with aspects of the investigation. As part of my research, I did listen to BBC Sounds. Have got a podcast with the entire court case. And one of the things Stephen McCulloch did was implicate an ex-boyfriend of Natalie McNally's. And this ex-boyfriend described himself as her best friend. But McCulloch knew he had violent tendencies. I'm not sure whether he was physically violent to Natalie, this ex-boyfriend, or just verbally abusive. No, there was abuse in that relationship, which is why it ended, and he had a new partner. McCulloch tried to implicate him in the murder, and he was one of the witnesses for the prosecution, actually cross-examined, but his name isn't in the public domain at all, so you can't look up who this ex-boyfriend was. A combination of factors: the CCTV, a taxi driver who picked him up on the night in question, and the inactivity of phone on the night of her death linked him. And there was inconsistency relating to the live streaming, which the police established wasn't live at all, of a video game. He maintained that he had been drinking at home and had fallen asleep at the time of the killing. CCTV footage showed a masked individual travelling to Lurgan. At around 9 p.m, 2 of McNally's neighbours heard her screaming. A taxi driver picked up a fare and drove him to McCulloch's home in Lisbon. The driver later identified the man as McCulloch during a police lineup. During the gaming session, McCulloch had selected an optional side mission: waste the wife, which must kill a woman and stage the death as an accident. and they believe that he deliberately, this man must have been a psychopath. The police believe he was putting Easter eggs in the video as a way of taunting McNally's family. So McCulloch formally entered a plea of not guilty to the murder of McNally. He had travelled from his home in Lisbon to Lurgan by public transport. He changed his clothing and appearance during the journey to avoid detection. He admitted that the video had been pre-recorded and broadcast on YouTube on the 18th of December. He claimed that he had consumed Buckfast, Guinness and Baileys and had fallen asleep. Emergency services noticed that McNally's hands and lips had turned blue, and there was a foul odour in the house on arrival. They recovered a knife a few feet from McNally's body in the living room. Blood was present on both the floor and the walls. So they're not sure exactly, the autopsy coroner. It doesn't look like they know exactly what killed her, because in my notes it says that either the stab wounds or the neck compression injuries could have been fatal. So she was stabbed multiple times and she was also strangled, but they don't know what actually killed her. And they say McNally had endured a prolonged assault. So a person of interest was observed travelling by bus from Drummory to Lurgan before continuing on foot to Silverwood Green. After 9:30 p.m, now wearing different clothing, he left the Silverwood area and got a taxi in Lurgan town centre. He proceeded to McCulloch's house at Woodland Gardens in Lisbon. Images taken from McCulloch's Instagram were also shown to the jury, and he was shown wearing a beanie hat and a black curly wig underneath. He did allege to police that Natalie's former partner had been harassing her recently. An old college friend of McCulloch, who's also called McCulloch but did a different spelling, Anne McCulloch, he was inconsolable with grief in the aftermath of McNally's death, adding that she thought they made a good couple and that McCulloch was excited about becoming a father. However, an ex-girlfriend of McCulloch's stated that he was physically abusive to her on several occasions over a 7-year on-off relationship, and she gave birth to a stillborn baby in early 2022. After the stillbirth, she received counselling sessions at McCulloch's house, and police informed her that he recorded some of these sessions without her knowledge. So I assume it's in the aftermath of the murder, in the police investigation, as they came across these recordings when they were interrogating his laptop. A taxi driver on the night of McNally's murder, he picked up a male passenger outside a pub in Lurgan town centre at 10:46, and this male passenger directed him to a house in Lisburn. Examination of the taxi's GPS logs revealed that it stopped outside McCulloch's house, which was on Woodland Gardens at 11 minutes past 11 on the night in question. McNally's ex-boyfriend, who is the one testifying in court and cannot be named for legal reasons, testified to the jury how they met on Tinder in 2019. He said it was on and off over the years, and they did have a sexual encounter occurring at her house in October 2022. There were messages sent from McNally to several men in the months before her death, which were submitted to the court, some implying that she was thinking about ending her relationship with McCulloch. Basically, the police established, I'm not sure whether this is their assumption, that they reckon the motivation was McCulloch found the text messages of her texting other men. Well, I know this is the case because the police case for the motive for the killing was that McCulloch found the text messages that Natalie had been sending to various men. I think she was still active on internet dating sites. She'd been seeing McCulloch since August, I believe, 2022, and got pregnant to him quite quickly. And she had continued having contact and sharing explicit images with other men online. And she had a sexual encounter with her ex-boyfriend, which he testified to in court in October 2022. So I guess McCulloch found all this evidence, and as he was a violent man, whether he'd actually shown any violence to her so far in the relationship, I mean, they'd only been dating since August, so maybe not. Having known people who've been in abusive relationships, it can often take up to a year for that. partner to show signs of physical abuse to them. Anyway, he got himself into a murderous fury, and ended up ending her life in a premeditated and sinister manner. On the 23rd of March 2026, McCulloch was found guilty of the murder of Natalie. He showed little emotion as the verdict was delivered. Justice Kinney told him that he would receive a mandatory life sentence, and the minimum tariff is due to be set on the 15th of May this year, 2026. I'm recording this in April 2026. So as part of my research, I found a newspaper, it was an Irish newspaper anyway, or Northern Irish newspaper, interviewing her parents, who are Noel and Bernie McNally, and what they say about her is that they want her to be remembered not for the events surrounding her murder, but as an independent, smart and funny girl who was always campaigning for the underdog. She didn't know what gender of the child she was expecting at that stage of her death. The family were told that she was expecting a little boy after an autopsy was carried out. State pathologist Dr. James Linnes said, Natalie had a bruise on the back of her right hand that was likely to have been caused by a punch as she tried to fight off McCulloch. Her father said that fella was maybe 18 stone, whereas Natalie was likely 8.5 stone. She wouldn't have had a chance, but I'm sure she would have fought. The sinister aspect to the case. He didn't go to her funeral. However, he did provide, as part of his trying to show himself as the grieving boyfriend, he did put together a video compilation, which I think they may have shown at her wake or some sort of memorial after the event. I'm not sure. There is video footage of this or photos of this, so I'll have a look online and put it on screen with some text about that. So that was the case of Natalie McNally. A sad case, I suppose, a cautionary tale of be wary when you're internet dating of who you're getting involved with, and don't get involved in any relationship too quickly. Maybe give the relationship at least a year before you make any decisions about getting pregnant by somebody, because you getting pregnant too quickly, you could end up dealing with somebody like Stephen McCulloch, who I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist. I hope you found this case interesting, and if you like my content, please like and subscribe. I've been Anne-Marie. Thank you. Bye-bye.